Well, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Greece and welcome to the beautiful port of Limeni on the Mani Peninsula. What are you into this? Not a bad start to today's video, eh? So we've driven about half an hour from Agios Nikolaos, where we're staying, down the coast on the Mani Peninsula, and we'll show you some of the villages, the beautiful villages that we pass through as we go back a little bit later on. And this is today's destination, the stunning little port of Limeni. Absolutely beautiful. Just look at the colour of that water. A little information board about Limeni. It was formerly the port of Areopoli, which is the bigger town just over the hill behind us, which was the hometown of the Mavromichalis family. The most famous of those was Petro Bey Mavromichalis, who was a distinguished commander of the revolution of 1821 against the Turkish conquerors. Still very much a hero in these parts, and indeed the hotel that I'll show you in a short while is named after him as well. And as you walk down into the village, you can see some of the lovely buildings that have been built here. A lot of this village was decimated by the massive earthquakes they had in this part of Greece back in the 1950s and have had to be rebuilt, but they've done them in very traditional style. And you can see the big mountains behind us as well. Stunning scenery no matter which way you turn. And this is just part of the hotel and one of their sunbathing terraces. There's no beach here in Limeni, but there are steps down to the water in a couple of places. There's one of them. Some people already enjoying the azure blue waters. Isn't that just stunning? Now if we're really lucky, we might even see some turtles in the bay here. They're very regular visitors, and this actually tells you that if you do see them, don't pet them. And would you believe they will swim up to you? They might think you've got some food, and some people have been known to stroke them, and it's not a great idea because they can bite. And what a lovely place to stop for a morning coffee with a view like that. What do you reckon? Yeah, it was once a working port here, but a lot of the buildings, as I mentioned already, were decimated in the big earthquakes of the 1950s. Nowadays, most of the buildings are holiday accommodation or hotel or restaurants, but it's been done in beautiful traditional style of the region. And we had our 30th wedding anniversary in one of the hotels here, which I'll show you a little bit later on. And if you want a house with a view, well, you could do worse than this. And it really is great to be back here in Limeni. Only a half an hour's drive or so over the mountains from Agnik, and we'll show you some of the route as we go back. One of the tavernas here featured on one of Rick Stein's episodes when he was doing his Mediterranean series, when he watched the fishermen gutting the fish, and then of course he sampled it afterwards. We'll show you that place in just a wee while. And just the remains of one of the churches here that was doubtless wrecked in those big earthquakes in the 1950s. Yeah, there's no actual beach in Limeni. That is across the other side of the bay in a little resort called New Itilo. We'll show you that as we return back to Agnik a little bit later on. But you can use these little platforms and get into the sea, and once you're in the water, of course, it's warm and beautiful. And just look at the colour of that water. Certainly clear enough to see the turtles if they're visiting today. There's normally at least a pair who are swimming around the bay. You're more likely to see them if one of the fishermen has just brought some fish in from one of the harbourside tavernas and he's unloading it and he throws odd bits out. And of course that is lunchtime for the turtles. Oh, and look who I found sitting here drawing. Hello.
Hello.
Hello there. What are you drawing? A turtle? Have you seen one today?
Turtle, not yet, but I'm going to.
Ah, right. Well, there's a very good chance we'll head off to the place where they normally go in just a second. Here's this pretty house again. Look at that bougainvillea. So vibrant, isn't it? Right, we're going to walk into, well, what is effectively the village centre, and we'll show you where we stayed for our 30th wedding anniversary, and we might even, if we're very lucky, have lunch there as well. Just look at that bougainvillea against the sea. Stunning, isn't it? Little church here, very pretty. I remember when we were here a few years ago, there was big fires on the hills behind here, and it nearly came down to the village. In fact, I think the nearest part of it just stopped behind that church. And this is all part of the hotel where we had that 30th wedding anniversary, and one of their seating areas. Isn't that just stunning? Now this is an interesting little harbourside taverna. What happens is the fishermen bring the fish in, and you'll see the guy on the steps there gutting the fish, throwing the bits back out into the sea, and that's when the turtles come in and they almost beg for food. They just swim around just eating whatever he throws in. And that is also the taverna that featured in Rick Stein's episode when he was down in this part of Greece as well. He spent quite a few minutes of the show here with the fishermen, with the guys that were cooking the fish. What a beautiful place to sit. That's only open, I think, during the evenings. But look at the view. And this is where we stayed and where we had our wedding anniversary, and this is the bar area. Well, there's excitement because sea turtle has been spotted, but of course as soon as you put the camera on, he disappears.
He's camera shy.
But he will be back. He's down there somewhere. There he is. I'm not sure if you can see him just underneath the tip of the taverna there. His head's just come up now. He's a big boy. He's about 4 foot long. There he is, look. Always guaranteed to see them in this bay. Absolutely beautiful. But don't swim up to them and try to stroke them. That's not a good idea. Just like being on a posh yacht, isn't it? Well, we found a very nice place for a lunchtime drink. Cheers.
Cheers, yeah,
Iced tea, very good of you.
peach and hibiscus.
We'll make up for it later. And is the turtle there at the moment? He's been coming and going. We'll catch him again.
He's sitting by the steps where they prepare the fish, and he knows to come there.
We'll see if we can spot him again. Well, it was a very nice lunch at our old hotel there. Always lovely there. And it was nice to see the sea turtle as well. Just going to have a very quick wander through the village, and then we're going to start to head up the peninsula. Now, I remember the work going on this building a few years ago to restore it. What a fantastic job they've done, eh? And talking about our hotel where we just had lunch, when we stayed there for our 30th wedding anniversary, which was 3 years ago, we were told that that was the same hotel where Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan stayed when they were in this area filming their trip to Greece. And in fact, the room, our room, was the very same where Steve Coogan stayed as well.
He wasn't there when we were there, though.
He wasn't there. He wasn't there when we were there, no. But it did feel
him
funny sitting on the loo thinking, Steve Coogan's bum has been on this seat. I know, that's just me taking a notice. Well, this is rather classy, isn't it? This is a pizza restaurant nowadays. But imagine sitting there on those tables as the sun goes down. Absolutely wonderful. Well, there's nothing like an authentic Greek fishing village. And this is not an authentic Greek fishing village. As you can see, it's been totally rebuilt after the earthquakes, but my goodness me, what a lovely job they've made of it. It is now really just for tourists, but it's still a beautiful place to come, and the colour of that water. Oh, we didn't go in for a swim today, but we'll do that again at some point in the future. So that was Limeni. What do you reckon to that? Isn't it absolutely gorgeous? So we've started our way back up the coast towards Agnic. We're going to be stopping off at one or two of the pretty villages, and also there's a little surprise for you towards the end, so don't tune away, don't switch off. Something quite amazing that I'm going to show you a little bit later on. But as we come back up the hill, here is the bay. This is Itilo Bay. Isn't it beautiful? That's the beach resort just below us. That's called Nia Itilo, New Itilo. And then where we've just been, Limeni, you can just see it tucked away in the corner over there. And just look at those beautiful colours. And then if you were to follow the road all the way around, it winds its way just under that mountain and just over that ridge, and you come to Areopoli, which is a really pretty little town actually, in the main town on this part of the coast.
Now we are just on our way back up from Limeni up the peninsula, and you can see that the still olive groves off to both sides of us, and the walls around them are a bit more rugged. They'll get a bit more maintained as we go a bit higher up. if you're lucky enough to go down towards Areopoli and Githio, the walls get more rustic, believe me. And this is the main road. Alongside a lot of the roads you come across these beautiful little bakeries, and we're just going to go past one now. There we are. Now we're just coming into Agios Nikon. Not Nikon cameras, just Agios Nikon. And you will see it's a very, very tight but pretty little village. Filming from the car because it's not easy to actually pull up here. We did end up once down a driveway because we met the bus, so I'm hoping we don't meet the bus today. And just coming up on the left is a lovely church. Hope you can see that. See the Byzantine church and this little square. It's lovely. I'm just going to take you along with us through this little drive on this bit. Agios Mountains ahead of us. Oh, and a lorry. So we'll join the fig tree here and we'll just wait while he goes past.
Okie dokie, so we've just stopped in the village of Lagada on our way back up the coast. I'll just show you where we are. This is the Mani Peninsula, and we have just been in the Bay of Itilo, which is here, and Limeni, which is just in that little indent there. We've driven back up here, and we're now here in Lagada, and we're heading eventually to Agios Nikolaos, which is just underneath Stoupa, just here. And right at the top, you can see Kalamata, that's where the airport is. Lagada, just one of the many pretty villages along this stretch, absolutely lovely. And right in front of us here is the Church of the Metamorphosis, 14th century apparently. Let's go and have a closer look, shall we? Now this is one of the many very old churches in this part of Greece that's lay pretty much derelict for a very long time. But in more recent times they've started to do a lot of work on restoring them, especially the old frescoes on the wall, which take a lot of work to restore. But they've done a lovely job here. Absolutely gorgeous. It's so peaceful here as well. Just look at the detail, right the way up there into the dome. So 700 years old. I suppose the frescoes have been added over the centuries, not all done at the start. So this one, as you can see, done in 1734, and a lot of them faded away or they've been covered up by other materials, painted over in many cases. But they've put in some painstaking work to restore them, and they've done a fantastic job. And even one here where the bottom half had been chipped away and too late to restore that, but the top half still looks fantastic, still worth preserving. And just outside the church, a little extra virgin olive oil producer. Of course this region is famous for its olives and its olive oil made from the wonderful Kalamata olives. So you can buy your olive oil from there and it would be beautiful. Just across the road, little taverna, little cafe, you can have coffee, breakfast, a little snack there as well. Such a pretty little place. This whole coastline is covered in very, very pretty villages. We can't show them all to you, but we'll just give you an example of what some of them are like. Absolutely lovely. So this is Lagada. And here's our wheels while we're here in Greece this time. Our little Skoda, very nice indeed. Nice car to drive actually. Parked outside the lovely 14th century Church of the Metamorphosis. What a fine building that is, and what a great job of restoration they've done.
Here we are now in the village of Thalames, or Thalames. There's a beautiful little square here. We pause by with a chestnut tree, traditional restaurant under the plane tree, and lots of little paths off, leading off up into the olive groves.
And the next village after Thalames is Nomitsi, another beautiful old church, and again another church that's been beautifully restored. And it's tiny, but again, just look at these frescoes that have been restored, brought back to life again. Just a tiny little chapel really, a little church, probably just used for its Saint's Day once a year. And just across the road from the church, this lovely little Greek restaurant high up in the hills. We came here 2 years ago for a lovely meal with our friends Vasso and Petros, our hosts in Agnic at the time, and we sat out on the terrace at the back and we could hear the jackals howling as they wandered across the hillsides. Truly memorable, absolutely lovely, very highly recommended. The food was excellent. And I'm guessing this is where back in the day they'd have done their washing. I wonder how many hundreds of years that's been there. If you're staying in Agnic or Stoupa, it's worth coming up into these hills if you've got a car, down towards Limeni, and even further down the peninsula. It's absolutely beautiful. So this was Nomitsi, gorgeous little village. Well, we're just outside the village of Platsa now, just a couple of kilometres on from the last stop, and I thought I'd bring you here to show you this. This is the local football ground. So, well, you've got your goals on both sides, you've got your dugouts there for the managers and the subs to sit. No grass, so if you're going to fall over on this pitch, it is going to hurt. Lots of grazed knees. But it's still used, and well, there's not a lot of ordinary turf around this area, so this is probably as good as it gets. But I wouldn't want to be involved in a nasty sliding tackle on that pitch, that's for sure. And right next door to the football ground, here's a lovely little church. Not seen by many people because it's down a little track off the main road. This is the church of Agios Nikolaos, Saint Nicholas, with beautiful views across the bay. And here's the little churchyard, and the beautiful little tower, the one for the bell and the one for the dome as well, with its red tiles. Absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? And a little information board in Greek and English, the church of Agios Nikolaos at Platsa. The initial building dating to the 9th century. The second phrase was done in 1337 and 1338. It is locked, but that's what it looks like inside. And from here, sweeping views across the Bay of Messinia. Right, so that was the church, but that's not the end of this little stop. And you know, I mentioned to you earlier I got a little surprise for you. It's not the JCB there, no, it's not him. But if we walk down this track, we're going to come to something quite amazing. And the question for you is, how old do you think it is? You'll find out in just a second. Beautiful views across the bay. We are carrying on down this way, and I can see workmen in the distance. Hopefully that doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to get in. No, it's okay, we can get in. Anyway, welcome to the amphitheater of Agios Nikolaos. Just look at this. So how old do you think this is? The answer is not as old as you would imagine. But just look at the views across the bay. What a stunning place for performances to take place. In Cornwall you've got the Minnock Theatre, and here you've got this. But sadly, not used currently for anything at all. Why is that? Well, stay tuned, we'll tell you more. So this is the Agios Nikolaos Amphitheatre, just outside the village of Platsa, high on the hill. That's Agnic, way down there, a long way. So it's really not as old as it looks. It was built, I don't have a year for you, but not that many years ago, maybe possibly 20 years. If somebody knows, please feel free to put it in the comments below. But it's not an ancient theatre, it's a modern structure. It was built for local groups to put on different performances of theatre and music and all that sort of thing, and what a stunning location this is. I believe it was used a few times when it was first opened, and then the local council told them they had to close. Why did they have to close? Well, apparently when they built it, they forgot to put in any water and they forgot to put in any toilets. Can you believe it? So in all the years we've been coming here, this has looked like this. And I don't think anything has been going on, but just as we came down from the church, there were signs of some work being done. There was some pipes, I'm not sure if they were electric or water or what they were, but there were some pipes running down the side of the road, and there were a couple of workmen just outside. I'm not quite sure what they were doing though. So maybe we shouldn't be getting up our hopes too much of a reopening of this arena in the foreseeable future. Now apparently the acoustics here are absolutely superb. You can talk in a normal voice, as you can in all of these sort of arenas, down there, and the audience, wherever they're sitting, will be able to hear you perfectly. So to put that to the test, Nina's taken over the camera. I'm going to go down there and, sorry about this, sing you a little song. Which one should it be?
And this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you... Oh, go on then, off you go.
Grazie mille. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present my new song. Just one cornetto, give it to me. Delicious ice cream from Greece.
Oh,
Is that it?
yeah. As you can see, the crowd are underwhelmed. But yeah, a good try, good try. I think perhaps a bit more practice.
I can actually see below us there's a brand new house that's been built since we were last here, so I'm wondering if those pipes and all that whatnot, all that work is to do with that rather than the theatre. I would suspect that may be the case. Anyway, what a view across the bay. You've got the Messinia Peninsula in the distance, looking across towards Koroni, and as you look on this side, you've got Agios Nikolaos, where we're staying, and then beyond there is Stoupa. And then up on the hill to the right is Areopoli and the village of Pyrgos. We're going to be going there in the next video. And then the mountains behind the Taygetos mountains. And then right up the very top of the bay, you can't see it because it's behind the ridge, is the city of Kalamata. What a simply stunning region this is. But please don't come here because there's too many tourists already. So just watch the video and then go to Benidorm, all right? And just a few hundred meters further on, we come into the village of Platsa, down low off the main road. And this is the main square of the village. And it's a lovely old church. Taking straight into the sun here, so I'll see if I can get a better angle for you. Yeah, here we are. Lovely church. Very peaceful square. There's quite a few people live in Platsa, but it's always so quiet when we come. So whether they all work down on the coast or they just keep themselves in the houses when it's the hottest part of the day. Look at that grand house at the end of the square, isn't it lovely? Lots of hillside walks from here. You can walk down to Katroni, which is a beautiful little village just low of here, and then you can carry on and end up down by Pantazi Beach, which you can see in our previous video, and walk down any of the little alleyways off the square, and you come to beautiful little scenes like this. Some of the houses restored, some still awaiting the work to be done, and wherever you go in Greece, you see these lovely old doors like this. I just love walking around these little streets in Greek villages. You never know what you're going to see around the next corner, quite often a pretty little church or something. And there you go, just carries on and on. A little well. Let's go and have a look at this well down here as well. So this would have been probably originally, I think nowadays it looks like it's something to do with, is it electricity or water? But I think originally this would have been a well, certainly for this part of the village. There's some sort of inscription on it as well. And there you go, another little chapel here, another little tiny church. These little Greek villages are so lovely, and we're going to be doing some more of these on our next video. Here you are. How pretty is that, look? Absolutely gorgeous. And if you fancy a little restoration job, here you go. I think it would take a fair bit of money and a fair bit of time and effort to get that back up to scratch, but just look at this lovely little peaceful square with your own church there. Isn't it just lovely? And you can see from this little viewpoint that it's actually a bigger village than you think. Quite a lot of houses. Right, so I'm thinking if I turn right here, it should bring me back towards the square. And by the way, on some of the posts you can see these little painted marks, like that one there. That means it's on one of the trails. And you can buy little leaflets and walking books and just follow the trails across the hills. But I think the best time to do that is certainly away from the hot months. So come in winter, come in the autumn or the early spring is beautiful in Greece with all the flowers. That's the time to do it. Look at this for a lovely restoration job. Originally a very old house, you can see that from the wall going up on the left, but now new windows and new stones on the front of the house. Lovely little roof terrace there. Nice shutters. Peaceful alleyway. Yeah, I could definitely live there. And the telltale sign of the beer crates outside means that this is the local taverna here in Platsa. Oi Murias Basoukias. Basoukias? It's a cafe Nopantopoleo. So it's a little cafe and taverna, not open at the moment, sadly. And we're back in the square. Here we are. And just look at this very grand house here. Now that is quite a property, isn't it? I wonder if that would have been the village mayor or somebody high up in local authority anyway, the boss of the village. And back to the church, there we are. And just behind the church, off the square, the sunny side of the church. And then another one of those lovely little paths that will lead you eventually down the hill and eventually back down to the sea. And here's another very grand 3-story house, and it looks like it's in need of restoration. But wouldn't that just be lovely? Right here on the square. It could be made to be almost like that eventually, couldn't it? What do you reckon, Nina? Should we buy that?
Yeah.
What do you reckon to do that up? $1 million?
Yeah.
Or 2?
Building skills.
Yeah, I can do a bit of DIY. So there we are. I think that should be a wrap for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. We've been down to the stunning little port of Limeni, and then we've made our way back up the coast of the Mani, we've been to Nomitsi, Thalames, Agios, Nikon, and now here we are in Platsa. One more village after this is Piggy, but we'll skip that for today. We'll do that another time. And then we're down back in Agnik.
We certainly are, and it's been a fab day because we've seen the turtles, we've heard the wild goats in the hillside.
Yeah.
It's been lovely.
And we've smelt the herbs alongside the road as well.
Yeah.
The beautiful herbs that you always get alongside the road here in Greece. So we're heading off back down to Agnik. It's still early enough in the afternoon for possibly a swim. It's definitely early enough in the afternoon for an ouzo as well.
Yes. Oh, sorry, yes.
Swim ouzo, or not ouzo swim, not that way. We'll see. Anyway, we'll be back again very soon with another video right here in beautiful West Mani on the Peleponnese of Greece. Hope you'll join us for that. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. That would be great. It pushes the channel a little bit, and it gets us out there, gets us known a little bit more. So that would be fantastic if you could do that.
Give us a like too.
Thank you very much indeed, and have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you again on the next video from right here in beautiful Greece.
Bye.
Bye-bye for now. Kalispera. Yes. No, the sound hasn't gone off. It really is this peaceful. Bye.